So we're back with a third part of our licensure framework. So this part is after you have built your assisted living. So the first two parts of this series were this is the homework we're doing so that we can build our assisted living to the exact requirements that we need to build it to. Now we're going to talk about after we built it, or maybe jump in right as we're finishing it to what should we do. We're at the other bookend of this, right? We're at the last step here. So I think it's so important that you first and foremost go and read everything in there and then actually get a professional consultant. So what I do is I hire someone who is a former inspector, or they may currently be an inspector for your local licensure, right? Not your city, but potentially your actual state license. Like who are the people that come out and do this? Because you can find them, they will come out and you can pay them a fee and they'll walk through your whole building with the state's checklist and really give you a pre-inspection without it being official. And I'm happy to pay $1,000 to have someone who is a current employee of the state licensure or a former retired person to come out and just dial in everything. Make sure there's no little things I'm gonna miss. Because a lot of this stuff is clearly in the gray area. And there is not a right or wrong way to do this. A lot of it is designed by the local state to be in the gray area, to cover their butt and not to cover yours. So there's a lot of things that are like, oh, well, it says this, but it could be this or this, right? So I think it's important to spend a little bit of money and save yourself some time because you want to get your license and pass the first time. And so I think it's very important that you find a local person to come in and walk it and check every little thing and go through all the state's checklist with you. After that's already, you have you passed all your permits, you completed your permits, you have your CO from your local city or county, whatever it is. Then you're gonna go and you're gonna apply for your license. So for me, I do it online and it's pretty simple. And most likely your state will be online as well. But you're gonna go in, you're gonna fill everything out, apply online, and I will always use the option to pay for an expedited process if there is one. If there's something available and you can spend a little bit of money and put your application to the top of the list, I highly, highly recommend it. Post-COVID and since there was that whole great resignation, there's been a lot of short staff, especially at these state levels, for these kind of things. So put your application at the top, pay the extra money, and get your license faster. So the other component here with getting your licensure is the paperwork. And really in my mind, there's two sides to this. There's the building paperwork and there's the operations paperwork. And it's not really called that, but it's a simple way to understand it. So a lot of the building paperwork is going to be about emergency preparedness. What happens in a disaster? What is your plan for these things? So, fire plans, earthquake plans, flood plans, COVID plans, disease outbreak plans, a lot of different things on the building. What are your evacuation plans? All these things can go into the building, as well as your engineering, your architectural items. All of these things can be put together, and it's really regarding the building. So your state will have specific requirements for these items for your paperwork. So when I do my licensure, and I will keep one binder separate, it'll be all of my building side, right? All of my emergency preparedness side. That's one folder. The other folder that I have is all to do with my operations. What are my policies? What are my procedures? What are my training requirements? What are my orientation requirements? And again, all of these things are listed in the state's requirements, right? We talked about this already. What are all the different things for residents and for staff? So go through that and make sure you have all of those policies and procedures in there. And I keep that in a separate binder away from my building. So I have my building one. For me, it's called my life safety. And then I have all my policies and procedures. And that's for how I'm hiring, how I'm training, how I'm taking care of my residents. What do I do in falls? All these different types of policies and procedures are in there. And then the third thing is my resident binders. So all of my residents have their own separate binder. And for at least for me, I go through 8 different sets of folders in the resident binder where I'm keeping all of their different documentations, all of their medications, all of their doctor history, everything that they have, right, is in their own individual folders. So when the state does come for the initial licensure and when they come to re-inspect or just to pop in, they will often ask for all of these binders. They may ask for a sample of a few different resident binders, and they'll also ask for potentially my policy and procedures and my life safety binder. So I want to have these all separate and I want to have them all dialed in. But it's very important that I organize them with tabs according to how the state puts them together for me. I want to use the state's checklist and I want to organize it this way with little tabs. So this has always helped me. Every time the state just pops in for no reason and they ask for things, I can bring out my binders and it looks fantastic. And they're always super impressed because I've organized it in a way that makes sense for them.